In the heart of one nation, two worlds wake up to very different realities. In the city, a young professional rises before dawn. The skyline towers above like a forest of glass and steel. People hurry through subway tunnels, clutching coffee cups and smartphones, chasing opportunities that come at a steep cost. Hundreds of miles away, in a quiet rural village, a child opens their eyes to fields and dusty paths stretching as far as they can see. Parents have left for distant factories, leaving them in the care of grandparents. Their mornings are spent walking to school, helping with chores, and learning to navigate a world they only see in glimpses. These two lives have never met, yet they are connected. One fuels the other. One prospers while the other waits. This is the story of China's Great Divide, of ambition and sacrifice, of opportunity and isolation.
The city moves in a rhythm all its own, relentless, precise, unforgiving. Commuters pour out of subway stations like rivers of people, their faces lit by neon signs and smartphone screens. The streets are lined with cafes, office towers, and apartment blocks stacked one on top of another. Life here is a constant negotiation between time and money, ambition and exhaustion. Many come chasing dreams, better jobs, higher salaries, a chance to escape the limits of their hometowns. Yet, opportunity carries its own weight. Rent consumes a large portion of income. Traffic can turn a short journey into a daily ordeal, and the pressure to perform never eases. Even the smallest moments reveal the city's pulse. A quick breakfast on a street corner, a hurried elevator ride, a tap on a phone ordering food to make the day a little easier. Each choice, each movement is part of a rhythm that is beautiful in its efficiency, but exhausting in its relentlessness. The city promises growth, advancement, and possibility, but it also exacts a toll. Here, success is measured not only in what one achieves, but in what one sacrifices to get there.
In the countryside, time moves differently. The sun rises over fields rather than skyscrapers, and the rhythm of life is tied to the seasons rather than deadlines. Children walk long paths to school, their footsteps tracing familiar dirt roads. Small houses clustered together, often quiet as parents leave for distant cities, chasing work that supports the families they rarely see. Days are filled with chores and responsibilities. Water must be drawn, animals tended, crops cared for, lessons completed. The pace is slower, but the work is constant. Survival and sustenance in every task. Community ties run deep. Neighbors help one another, stories are shared, and every family knows the other by name. Yet, this world exists in the shadow of the city. Access to advanced education, healthcare, and career opportunities is limited. Dreams of urban life are vivid, even if distant. The rural life is one of resilience, patience, and quiet endurance, a world that sustains the country in ways that are often invisible to those living in its towering cities.
The distance between China's cities and countryside is more than geography. It's the product of policies and historical choices that shaped how people live, work, and move across the country. At the center of this divide is a system created more than 6 decades ago, the Hukou, or Household Registration System. It was introduced in the late 1950s at a time when China needed to control internal migration and manage food supplies. Every citizen was registered as either urban or rural, and that status followed them wherever they went. For most of China's history, this system determined not just where you were from, but what opportunities you could access. Urban Hukou holders received subsidized housing, better schools, healthcare, and secure jobs. Rural Hukou holders relied on farmland, limited public services, and a smaller safety net. As the economy opened and cities began to boom, millions of rural residents left home to take jobs in factories, construction sites, restaurants, and delivery networks. They became the labor force that powered China's rise. But the Hukou system meant many of them could work in the city without truly belonging to it. In everyday life, this translated into countless small and large barriers. They could rent apartments, but buying one was often out of reach. They could contribute to a city's growth, but their children were often unable to attend local public schools. If someone fell ill, high-quality urban hospitals were available, but accessing them at local rates was difficult without the right registration. Even simple social benefits, like unemployment insurance or pensions, became complicated when a person worked in one city but was registered in another province. For the families they left behind, the impact was just as profound. Millions of children grew up with grandparents, seeing their parents only a few times a year. This wasn't a choice made lightly. It was a consequence of rules that made settling together in the city nearly impossible. Over time, reforms have loosened the system, especially in small and medium-sized cities. Some have opened their doors, offering local hukou to attract new workers. But in major megacities, places like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, the gate remains narrow. Competition is fierce, requirements are high, and for many, permanent settlement stays out of reach. The Hukou system may not be as rigid as it once was, but its legacy continues to shape daily life. It influences where people can live, where their children can study, and what kind of future they can build. And it remains one of the most significant forces behind the urban-rural divide that defines modern China.
Despite the distance between city and countryside, these two worlds are connected in ways that are often hidden from everyday view. One cannot function without the other. Every morning in the city, millions rely on services and goods produced far beyond the skyline. Vegetables and meat sold in markets come from remote provinces. Construction workers who build new subway lines and apartment complexes grew up in small towns. Delivery drivers, factory workers, cleaners, shop attendants, many of the people who keep a city running trace their roots to villages, hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away. In return, the countryside depends on the city's economic engine. Factories create jobs that rural residents cannot find at home. Urban incomes support entire families in distant provinces. Money earned in the city pays for new roofs, school supplies, medical bills, and in many cases keeps villages alive. Technology has strengthened this connection even more. E-commerce platforms allow rural families to buy goods once found only in major cities. Farmers can sell fruits, vegetables, and specialty products online, reaching customers nationwide. Roads, postal networks, and delivery systems knit the two worlds together. What once took days to move now arrives in hours. But this interdependence is not balanced. Cities attract talent, investment, and opportunity. Rural regions send labor and resources, but often receive less in return. The benefits of growth accumulate unevenly. Young people leave, villages empty, and local economies slow as the most capable workers move away. Still, the link remains unbreakable. The smartphone in a city commuter's hand, the vegetables in a supermarket, the packages delivered to doorsteps all represent the labor of millions far from the city lights. And each time wages are sent home or a product from a rural county reaches a distant buyer, the countryside feels the pulse of the city. China's rise is not the story of cities alone. It is the result of a constant exchange between two worlds, one driving innovation and expansion, the other providing the human strength and raw material that make that progress possible.
Behind the numbers and economic growth lies a quieter story, one written in the lives of millions of families separated by distance and circumstance. Migration has transformed China, but it has also reshaped childhoods, marriages, and entire communities. In countless villages, children grow up with grandparents rather than parents, not because families have broken apart, but because parents must chase opportunities far away. The long hours in factories, the rotating shifts in delivery hubs, the unstable schedules of service jobs, these leave little room for raising a child in the city, especially when schooling, healthcare, and housing are difficult to access without the right registration. For these children, video calls become a lifeline. Birthdays are celebrated through screens, homework reviewed in noisy dormitories miles away, and promises made for visits during the New Year, the one period when millions return home all at once. Those few days each year carry the emotional weight of months of separation. Parents carry a different burden. They work long hours knowing they are missing milestones, first steps, school performances, and small everyday moments that cannot be recovered. Their earnings support the family, but the cost is measured in distance and time. The elderly, too, shoulder responsibilities they never expected in old age. They raise grandchildren, manage farms, and care for aging bodies while worrying about children who work in faraway cities. Their lives bridge two worlds, the rural past and a rapidly changing present. Entire villages reflect this pattern. Schools have fewer students, playgrounds grow quieter, and daily life is shaped by absence as much as presence. And in the cities, migrant workers live in compact rooms, often sharing space with others, saving what they can to send home. Their lives are filled with routine and repetition. Work, sleep, work, with little opportunity to put down roots. This is the human cost of China's transformation. Families stretched thin, communities reshaped, and emotional bonds tested by geography and policy. Yet, even in this struggle, there is resilience. Parents work with hope. Children learn with determination. Grandparents nurture with patience and strength. They endure because the future they're working toward feels worth the sacrifice, even if the path is uneven and the distance long.
If China's economic rise has one unspoken truth, it is this: growth has always had a human price tag. For decades, millions of workers endured long hours, cramped dormitories, and unpredictable wages, all in pursuit of a future they hoped would be better than their past. Yet even as incomes rose, many discovered that money alone could not buy what the system would not grant. A family might move to a city for work, only to find that their children could not attend the nearest public school without extra fees. A skilled worker could spend years contributing to an urban economy, yet remain classified as an outsider on paper. Elderly parents might migrate to help raise grandchildren, but still lose access to subsidized healthcare because their registration belonged somewhere else. These small frictions rarely make headlines, but they quietly shape the daily emotional landscape of millions. Plans are made around what is allowed, not necessarily what is desired. Dreams are calibrated to fit within bureaucratic boundaries, and the stress of navigating this invisible maze has become as much a part of urban life as traffic jams and construction cranes. The result is a strange duality: the material comforts of a modern China on the surface, and beneath it, a constant negotiation of identity, belonging, and access. Growth lifted people out of poverty, but it also reminded them in subtle but persistent ways that not everyone rises with equal freedom.
For years, the Hukou system helped the government manage migration, deliver public services, and maintain social stability. But now, the very tool that once brought order is straining under the weight of modern expectations. China's economy no longer depends only on factories and construction sites. It relies on service workers, caregivers, delivery drivers, and a mobile workforce that must move quickly and freely. Yet, mobility on paper has not kept pace with mobility in real life. Cities with aging populations desperately need new workers, but their Hukou thresholds remain high. Smaller towns want to grow, but cannot offer the public services migrants expect.
And big cities, pressured by rising costs and stretched school systems, guard their registration policies tightly, even as they rely on migrant labor to function. This tension creates an unsustainable cycle. Workers go where the jobs are, but access to schooling, healthcare, and long-term security lags far behind. Meanwhile, local governments struggle financially to provide services for people who live there but are not officially counted there. As a result, policies shift, pilot programs appear, and reforms are introduced, but always carefully, never radically. The pressure is mounting from both sides. Workers want stability, cities want growth without overwhelming their budgets, and the central government wants to maintain control while easing inequality. The question now is not whether the Hukou system will change, it is how fast it can adapt to a society that is already moving without waiting for permission.
Behind the statistics and reforms lies a quieter burden: the emotional and psychological cost carried by families navigating the urban-rural divide. Every year, millions of parents leave their hometowns for work, knowing that their children will stay behind. Others bring their kids with them, but spend years fighting through paperwork to secure a school seat, a dormitory bed, or a doctor's appointment. For many rural families, opportunity comes with trade-offs that are rarely seen in headlines. A better salary might mean living in cramped apartments, rotating night shifts, or sharing dorms far from loved ones. A move to a city might open doors, but it also exposes families to a new level of competition: higher expectations in schools, rising costs of tutoring, and pressure simply to fit in. Meanwhile, urban residents face their own pressures. Some worry about crowded schools or disappearing green spaces. Others feel uneasy as living costs rise, wondering whether the city they grew up in is slipping out of reach. The divide is not only economic, it is emotional, cultural, and deeply personal. This is the paradox of opportunity in modern China. The path upward is clearer than before, yet the sacrifices required often fall on ordinary individuals who must choose between ambition and belonging, between stability and change. These invisible costs shape decisions far more than any policy on paper.
Modern Chinese cities promise opportunity, but they also act as powerful gatekeepers. Housing prices, school admission rules, healthcare access, and employment qualifications form layers of barriers that newcomers must navigate. Even without the Hukou constraint, these informal obstacles can feel just as rigid. In many major cities, renting an apartment close to good schools can cost more than a full month's migrant salary. Some families move repeatedly, chasing affordable units within the right school district boundaries. Others sign short-term leases tied to employers, knowing that losing a job could mean losing their roof and their child's education path. Healthcare tells a similar story. Urban hospitals are equipped with advanced technology and specialists, but long queues and high out-of-pocket fees push many migrants to rely on clinics in their hometowns. When serious illness strikes, patients often return to rural hospitals where treatment options are limited, but paperwork is simpler. Employment, too, reflects this gatekeeping effect. Cities reward skills, certificates, and networks that rural residents often cannot access easily. Postings request degrees not because they are strictly necessary, but because they help filter applicants. Promotions favor those who can attend late meetings, afford additional courses, or maintain a stable presence in the city, conditions that migrant workers frequently struggle to meet. In this landscape, cities do not just offer success, they determine who can realistically pursue it. And as China continues its shift toward advanced services and innovation-led growth, these invisible filters are becoming even more decisive in shaping the futures of millions.
In response to the widening divide, Beijing has championed a nationwide effort called rural revitalization. On paper, it is ambitious. Modernize agriculture, attract investment, upgrade schools and clinics, preserve local culture, and create new industries from ecotourism to e-commerce hubs. The message is clear. Prosperity should not flow only towards cities. And in some places, the results are visible. Model villages showcase renovated homes, paved roads, community centers, and tidy public squares. Farmers in certain regions now live stream their produce to millions, earning more in one evening than a full season in the past. Local governments experiment with digital platforms, smart farming, and partnerships with big tech companies. But the reality is uneven. Success often depends on geography, funding, and political attention. Villages near transport hubs or coastal cities attract businesses. Remote ones struggle to maintain basic services. Some revitalization projects rely heavily on debt, raising questions about sustainability. Others build tourism sites that look impressive, yet fail to bring long-term income. Most importantly, rural revitalization does not automatically solve the deeper issue. People move to cities because that's where the jobs, networks, and upward mobility still concentrate. A renovated village cannot compensate for limited career prospects. For young people, opportunity remains the strongest magnet, and it still pulls toward the urban core. Thus, rural revitalization sits at a crossroads. It carries genuine potential to narrow the divide, but only if it evolves beyond infrastructure and aesthetics. The challenge is not just to make villages more modern, it is to make them places where families feel their future can grow.
As life in major cities becomes increasingly expensive and competitive, a quieter movement has begun to take shape, the return to the countryside trend. It is not massive, and it does not reverse decades of migration, but it reveals an emerging shift in how some Chinese think about success. Young professionals who feel burned out by long hours and high rents are experimenting with slower lifestyles in rural areas. Some move back to their hometowns to start small businesses, cafes, guest houses, craft studios, organic farms. Others relocate to scenic villages where they live stream, edit videos, or do remote work while paying a fraction of urban living costs. Local governments welcome them, hoping their skills and digital fluency can spark new industries. In certain areas, creators who showcase rural life have brought more visitors than traditional tourism ads ever could. Their photos of rice terraces, mountain streams, and quiet evenings tap into a nostalgia that resonates with millions of urban viewers. Yet this trend has limits. Stable income is not guaranteed. Infrastructure, especially healthcare and education, still trails behind cities. Many who attempt rural entrepreneurship eventually return to urban work for security. And for the vast majority of families, especially those raising school-aged children, the countryside cannot yet offer a reliable alternative path upward. Still, the countryside dream reveals something important: the desire for balance. It suggests that beyond the numbers, China's urban-rural story is not only about inequality, it is also about people renegotiating what kind of life they want. And as more young Chinese explore new possibilities, the divide becomes not just economic, but also a question of lifestyle, identity, and what it means to live well. The urban-rural divide is not measured solely in income or infrastructure. It is also a matter of culture, community, and daily life. Cities pulse with technology, commerce, and speed. Cafes overflow with people working on laptops. Shopping malls hum with constant consumption. And social networks keep everyone connected. Yet sometimes, those connections feel fleeting. In the countryside, life moves more slowly, but bonds run deep. Neighbors share labor, advice, and celebrations. Festivals are observed collectively. Traditions are preserved not in museums, but in daily routines. Children grow up knowing the names, faces, and histories of everyone around them. For all its material limitations, this environment fosters a strong sense of belonging. But connection across the divide is fragile. Families separated by migration rely on messaging apps, video calls, and occasional visits. Social networks that are strong locally cannot fully replace parental presence or access to urban opportunities. The tension between proximity and distance shapes the choices people make, whether to stay, leave, or try to return. As technology advances, new forms of connection emerge. Rural students attend online classes, farmers sell products via live stream, and urban families maintain ties across provinces with a tap of the screen. Yet these digital bridges, while powerful, cannot entirely replace the experience of shared space. The story of China's divide, then, is not just economic, it is deeply human. It is about how people maintain connection, cultivate community, and navigate a landscape shaped by policy, opportunity, and the choices of millions moving between two worlds. China's urban-rural divide is not static. It is a living, shifting landscape shaped by economic forces, policy decisions, and the choices of millions of individuals. The country's rapid modernization has lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty, yet the divide persists, reminding everyone that growth is not evenly distributed. Looking ahead, there are reasons for cautious optimism. Investments in rural infrastructure, digital connectivity, and education are expanding. E-commerce, live streaming, and remote work allow rural residents to participate in markets once dominated by cities. Government programs aim to make social services more accessible, and pilot reforms in Hukou registration are gradually opening doors for migration and settlement. At the same time, challenges remain. Cities are becoming more expensive, and competition for jobs, housing, and schooling is intense. Rural areas still lag in healthcare, advanced education, and high-paying industries. Balancing economic growth, social equity, and quality of life will require careful planning, local innovation, and broad participation. The future of the divide is not predetermined. It depends on policies that encourage inclusion, on communities that adapt creatively, and on individuals navigating their choices between mobility, opportunity, and belonging. The next chapter of China's story will be written by the people moving between these two worlds, and by the systems that either connect or separate them.
For the next generation, the urban-rural divide is both a challenge and a source of possibility. Young people in cities feel the pressures of competition, high costs, and the expectation to succeed quickly. Their days are measured in schedules, exams, and social comparisons. Yet they have access to resources, technology, and networks that allow them to dream big, whether it's studying abroad, launching a startup, or pursuing creative careers. In the countryside, young people experience a different rhythm. Many still grow up in homes shaped by migration where parents are absent and grandparents provide guidance. Schools are smaller, resources fewer, and extracurricular opportunities limited. But these challenges foster resilience, adaptability, and a deep connection to community. Some embrace agriculture, local business, or digital entrepreneurship, using technology to reach beyond their physical boundaries. Increasingly, technology acts as a bridge between these two worlds. Rural students attend online classes, urban youth explore rural internships, and digital platforms allow both to share culture, products, and stories. Social media highlights success stories from small towns, inspiring others to innovate at home rather than only seeking life in the city. Yet questions remain. Will urban opportunities continue to pull young people away from rural life? Can rural innovation provide sustainable livelihoods? And how will this generation redefine what it means to succeed in a country still negotiating the balance between growth and equity? The voices of youth offer both hope and clarity. They are experimenting, adapting, and imagining futures where connection, creativity, and resilience matter as much as income or location.
And in their choices lies the potential to reshape the urban-rural landscape for decades to come.
China's story is one of contrasts, connections, and choices. Cities tower with ambition, speed, and opportunity, while villages endure with resilience, patience, and community. Both worlds rely on each other, yet both carry costs, visible and invisible, that shape lives, families, and futures. The urban-rural divide is not just an economic issue, it is a human one. It affects the rhythms of daily life, the bonds between parents and children, the choices of young people, and the culture that communities pass from one generation to the next. It is a story of progress intertwined with sacrifice, of innovation and tradition coexisting in tension. Looking ahead, the path is neither predetermined nor fixed. Policies, technology, and individual choices will continue to redefine what it means to live well, work hard, and belong in a country of such vast complexity. The future of China's urban-rural divide depends on the balance between growth and inclusion, between opportunity and equity, and between ambition and human connection. As viewers, we are invited to reflect: how do we measure progress? How do we define success? And how can societies ensure that the benefits of growth are not reserved for a few, but shared across every corner, every village, and every city? The story of China's urban-rural divide is far from over. It is written daily in the choices of millions, in the heartbeat of cities, and in the quiet persistence of rural life. And as this story unfolds, it challenges all of us to consider what a fair, connected, and sustainable future could look like.
China's urban-rural divide is more than a statistic. It's a lived reality felt in classrooms, families, and entire communities. Understanding this divide means looking beyond the skylines and stepping into the quieter stories that shape the nation's future. If you'd like to dive deeper into this topic, I highly recommend the book Invisible China: How the Urban-Rural Divide Threatens China's Rise by Scott Rizal and Natalie Hell. It's one of the most important works available on why today's education and opportunity gaps matter, not just for rural children, but for China's long-term development. You can find the link to the book in the description below. As always, thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into China's evolving social and economic landscape. See you in the next one.